Hello, this is Dave Angeloni, and welcome to We All Have Shit, the only bi-weekly podcast that tries to take an honest look at what ails us and moves us forward into the lives we lead. The shit that I have is multiple sclerosis, and MS will be one of the focuses of our podcast, but we'll also discuss other types of shit that other people have as well. This will be done with comfort, realism, and sensitivity. Humor will be injected whenever the moment calls for it, and we will do our best to be brief, to the point, and real. Anything that might be difficult for us is on the table. Physical, mental, emotional, professional, personal, social, family, financial, etc. We're all human, and we all have things in common. Moreover, we were created to exist in a social context and to help each other as best we can. We will strive to maintain positivity and enthusiasm during the challenges we face, because life is here and life is now. We simply owe it to ourselves and to each other to try our best every day. Each episode that we have will involve a few things: a discussion or exploration of some sort of difficulty that someone is dealing with, an expert spotlight on the topic, a discussion of how it sucks and what makes it difficult, and finally, what the person is doing currently to deal with it. Finally, while I may have been a trained and experienced professional counselor in a past life, this is not me now, and this is not our show. This will not be a glorified pop culture counseling session. There will be no life-changing attributes shared, nor any high-minded ideals ascribed to. Rather, we will simply do our best to shed some light on our troubles, talk about how we're dealing with them, and hopefully make some positive contribution to the world around us. So, let's talk about my story, or my shit. I have multiple sclerosis, and MS sucks in every way. One thing I've learned about MS is that it's not very well known, because not very many people have it. There's different types of MS, although some may argue it's one type of MS and it exists only on a continuum. But my diagnosis is primary progressive multiple sclerosis. There's only about, forgive the figures here, I have it written down someplace, I don't have them on me now, but there's about 330 million people in the United States, okay? Of those, only about 1 million have MS. So we're a minority right there. Of that million, like 75% of them have relapsing, remitting MS, meaning that the MS will come and go. There'll be flares and then remissions along the way. A smaller minority, some estimates say about 100,000 people, have primary progressive MS. That's me, meaning that the MS exists within me, in my brain, and there's nothing I could do to eliminate it. I could only deal with it the best way I can, move when I'm able to, and rest when I need to. That's a lot. Further, of that 100,000, the vast majority of those are female. So, there's not many people that are walking with what I'm dealing with. And I am far too aware to acknowledge that many other people have many other things far more difficult than MS. Please understand that. That's a disclaimer that cannot be overemphasized enough, rather. So please note that, and thank you. So we'll talk more about MS and the details about it, but it's generally the growth of lesions that occur within your brain, and the lesions affect nerves and nerve fibers that go throughout your body. So the diagnosis of MS is individualized for everybody that has it. While there are certain things that you have in common, like a typical illness or disease, MS bucks that trend in that it's highly individualized. So that needs to be noted. It's something that I've struggled with, coming to terms with, and being aware of throughout my time. So a little bit more details about my story. Excuse me. So I was a college student. This is a long time ago. I was about 20, 21 years of age, and my mom got diagnosed with MS. And MS at that time was very different than it is now in terms of treatment and awareness and things like that. So for my mom, when she had it, the medical book on her diagnosis was MS is going to sap you of your energy. You're going to feel perpetually fatigued. So save your energy. Don't overexert yourself. Don't do too much because you don't have much in the tank. And that was the book on MS at the time. And my mom sort of took that to heart. And she lived a lifestyle that wasn't too active, but she did fight. And that is a hallmark of MS and people that are diagnosed with MS, is you have to develop and have a mentality and a demeanor of fight, because it's a perpetual thing that you're up against. So my mom's situation was, she was desperate to find something to reverse it, help it, cure it possibly. So the medical community, even though MS had been around for a long, long time prior to that, there was no set course of treatment for the disease. So there was a number of experimental efforts that were being taken in hospitals and facilities all over. And my mom and dad traveled every place. We're on the East Coast, so frequent trips to Philly, New York, Jersey, you name it. She was participating actively in clinical trials, experimental treatments, medications. And it was a very trying time for her and for me, witnessing that. I, at the time, as a college student, of course, I was intrigued by this and came to learn that there was no direct evidence that it was hereditary. There was circumstantial reports that it might be hereditary. So, of course, hearing that, was a bit of fear and worry, of course, in my mind, knowing that as an offspring, it might be in me too. And should that befall me, I wanted to do everything I can, as much as I can, to prepare myself. So while I was always active-ish in my younger days and in high school days and at that point in college, I then took a daily mindset to be active every day, whether it was something physical or whether it was playing. I did all kinds of intramural sports and constantly in the gym, and I'm by no means a muscle-bound meathead. Anyone that knows me will ascribe to that. But I've always tried to be active. But with this diagnosis of my mom, that took on a much more important thing in my world. So went through college, and my mom's illness progressed to the point that when my wife and I got married a few years later, she was slowing down significantly, but was still healthy enough to dance at our wedding, and that was a massive thing for her, an accomplishment, and that's so appreciated, and we all acknowledge that. And soon after that, then we started having children, and she was able to drive. Occasionally, she wasn't as active physically, so the demise was persistent and global for her physically. I always say mentally, however, she was sharp as a tack until the very end. So my mom passed away 6, 7, 8 years ago. Okay. Then, for me, my story, I had a surgery. This was, let's rewind, 2021. So we're still in the throngs of COVID-ish. And the world was kind of getting back to normal. Our youngest son was in high school. He was in the band, and we would work food stands on Friday night football games. And in the busyness of one of those Friday nights, working the food stand, I tripped and fell. And it was a pretty big mess in the food stand at the time. And everyone was like, oh my God, Dave fell. Is he okay? And I was okay. I got the wind knocked out of me, but mostly my pride was hurt, of course. And I was confused, of course. So I was convinced that, somebody inadvertently tripped me, boggled my feet and fell. It was really congested, really busy, etc. Nonetheless, so I fell and bruised some ribs and things like that, but it wasn't anything permanent. To couple that, this was still in the fall, I had 2 or 3 falls. We work on a college campus, lunchtime, like walking around in city streets, etc. I would stumble and fall up or down steps, on a sidewalk, what have you. So I would chalk those up to getting older, being too much in a hurry. I had just turned 50 or was about to turn 50. And even though I was active, I know, you get older, things change. So maybe I was just moving too fast. I wasn't being mindful, etc. So that was my mindset. Then around the holidays, I came to learn that I needed a surgery, relatively minor surgery, nothing that would, knock me out for months and months, a little surgery, right? So I was hospitalized for a couple of days, and surgery went well, recuperation went well, I was discharged. Great. So the springtime hit, and I had to get back in shape, because it was not only the winter months and the doldrums of Northeast PA winter, but also the surgery that I had. So I really felt I needed to, get back into being active, etc. I was struck by the fact that I just couldn't coordinate myself. Simple walking, simple, jogging, movement of any kind. There was a lack of coordination and connection with my body, and I couldn't figure it out. But I kept trying. Of course, kept trying to get back into my routine and my thing, what I did. So we have an event here, and we'll, I'm sure, touch more on this in the future. But it's a cultural event called La Festa di Chieri, St. Ubaldo Day, better known as. It involves teams of guys running through the streets in these traditional ethnic uniforms in a celebration. It's a religious celebration. Long story. We could talk hours about that. But that particular year for St. Ubaldo Day, I was very out of sorts because of my difficulty, physically. It's been months, and I just couldn't seem to do it. Now, this event was something that I had done my whole life since I'm a child, and I could do it blindfolded. Granted, not as well as I used to, maybe, or as long as I used to, but I could do it blindfolded, man. I was good at it, right? Not the best, but good at it. This year, it was tough. I just couldn't get it together in preparation. So the day hit, and I said, you know what? I'm throwing caution to the wind. I'm going to do the best I can and simply rely on history. I'm just going to let it take over and do my thing that I know I could do. Well, God had other plans. So the event is broken into different sections, if you will. There's different portions of it. The first 4 portions of the race, I fell 4 times. My whole life, I don't think I had fallen 4 times doing this. So I knew something was up. After the 4th and final fall, my wife and I made eye contact with each other, and I said to her, Dee, I'm done. Something's going on with me. I don't know what it is. I got to figure it out. So I stopped right then and there for fear that I would kill myself, somebody else, and I stopped. Immediately after that, I went to my family doctor, and he sent me for some tests. We were concurrently planning family vacation to the beach. The day before we were supposed to leave for vacation, I got a call. It was after 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, and my doctor personally called me to tell me that there was something on my brain, and it wasn't MS, but it was something, and he wasn't sure what it was. So, of course, I was stopped dead in my tracks, and I asked him about this vacation that we were on the verge of planning. You know, would it limit me? Do I have to cancel it, etc.? And he said, no, Dave, you don't have to worry about anything with that. Go on vacation with your family, have fun, it's all good. After you get back, we'll get back together and we'll see what we're going to do. Okay, so I left it at that. We went on vacation. We go on the grand family vacation with the in-laws. And that is a wonderful trip every year, but it's the big family trip. We stay in a house together, and there's of course a lot of positivity and some challenges with that. You can read between the lines on that. But I love my in-laws and love the times that we have down there. So one night, we were sleeping, and I got up to do the middle of the night pee in the toilet, and I passed out. In the bathroom for some reason. Knocked the towel rack off the wall. There was a big hole in the drywall next to the toilet. So I came back into the bedroom, woke my wife up, told her, and she was like, holy God. So at that point, up till that point, I had not spoken to anybody, family, friends, about this stuff that was going on with me. It had been a few months now, and I haven't spoken to anybody, but I had no choice. I had to come out to my in-laws, explain to them. My kids had been aware. I think I told them in the car on the way down to the beach at like 5 in the morning, which was so stupid, but that was what I did. So sorry, guys, on that. But I told my in-laws, and they started the prayers, of course, which was helpful. Vacation ended, got back home. I had noticed some fatigue since then, but again, I'm 50. Right? Did it hit like a freight train? Was this unusual? I had never been 50 before, right? So I didn't know what to expect. Went back to my doctor. They scheduled an appointment for me with a neurologist to get a better look at my brain. The first appointment I could have locally was like 6 months out. And I said to myself, I was like, no, that cannot happen. So I called, and they said, well, are you willing to travel a little bit? And I said, sure, whatever. I need to know what this is. It's something inside my brain. I need to, figure it out. Yes, I travel. So I said, okay, you could do it like it's a 2-hour trip or so, and that's a little sooner. So I said, okay, when is that? Instead of 6 months out, that was 3 months out. I said, thank you for that, but that's not going to work either. So she said, okay, I'll see what I could do. God was good, and I think my mom was working on this because I got a call within a couple hours from the person again at the office saying that there was a cancellation at UPenn, University of Pennsylvania, neurology. Would you be interested in it? And I said, absolutely. When is it? They said, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. So we're about 2-3 hours away from Penn. And this was like, 4:30 in the afternoon. So I said, absolutely, I'll take it. Called my wife, shifted hell and high water with both of our works and our personal stuff. And we were there in the office, 9 a.m. the next morning. Met with the neurologist. They did some testing on me. And the neurologist told me that she can't make an MS diagnosis now, but she said it certainly looks like I have it. She showed pictures and images and explained the multiple lesions that existed in my brain, and the potential outcome of that. We talked a little bit about family history, and she explained to me that a formal diagnosis of MS can only come after many other tests, blood work, cognitive tests, spinal tap, etc. So I spent that summer of 2022 doing that, back and forth to Penn in Philly. And even though it was enjoyable going back and forth to Philly, reliving a little bit of old college times, it was nothing like that, of course. Totally different life circumstance. But I had vials upon vials of blood drawn. I had MRIs taken. I had spinal tap taken. Come to find out that I had lesions all over my brain and my spinal cord. And I was diagnosed with PPMS, primary progressive multiple sclerosis. And that's a friggin' mouthful. So, So my doctor I was assigned to was out of Penn, and he was wonderful. I was formally diagnosed the day after, I believe, or maybe it was the day that my oldest son left the country. He was going on a year of service to the island of Yap in Micronesia. Exactly. I never heard of that place either until he was interested in it. But this is a major life event, and it was coupled with a major life event on my side. So, we had that stuff that we were dealing with, and my wife was an absolute rock in helping me and him and our whole family through everything. So I can't thank my wife, Dina, enough for that period of time. So I was, of course, flooded with perpetual feelings of depression, anxiety, guilt, fear, doubt, you name it. Like every possible negative emotion I could imagine, I went through and processed for God knows how long. Some may say I'm still dealing with that stuff. I don't know. But it was a reckoning. It was a reckoning. It was a crack upside the head and a kick in my ass. And it was frustrating because I hadn't done anything to create this. Right? There's a lot of diseases out there that are the result of negative choices or bad actions, etc. This and many others are not. They just kind of befall you. So I don't know why, but the Lord chose me for this. So, yeah, I had a lot of internal processing and reckoning to do with myself, and I'm still in the process of that. One of the best things that my neurologist shared with me was that MS today is light years away from how MS was when my mom had it. Whereas with her, at that time, the book on MS was to not do anything. Today, the book is to do everything. I have no restrictions, but I need to perpetually manage my symptoms. So what are my symptoms right now? Again, me individually, I am perpetually fatigued and imbalanced. Every step I take is challenged. Sometimes it's harder than others. Balance is tricky. I have to mentally, cognitively be aware. Left foot, right foot, heel toe, heel toe, heel toe. The simple act of walking that we all do mindlessly and instinctively, I need to now think about it. So as a trained mental health clinician, I am aware of modern concepts such as mindfulness and things like that. And I have friends that practice mindfulness in a very effective, good way, and ask me, what do you think about mindfulness? You should do some mindfulness. And I say, dude, I live mindfulness every second of every day. Every breath I take is mindful. I'm aware of everything because I need to. So that's one part of my reality, how I'm dealing with this. A second part of my reality is my activity level. I have a daily routine that involves stretches from the moment my feet hit the ground in the morning out of bed. I have to stretch my body in a certain way for a certain length of time just so I feel able to have a day. Because every day my body, this is primary progressive, so my body is not going to get any stronger, any better. The best I could do is maintain where I'm at every day. And that's a tough nut to crack. It won't be cracked. It'll just be there. So I never want MS to be out in front of me. I never want it to define me. I always will have MS with me, but I'm happy to keep MS by my side or behind me if it can get behind me. Maybe it's only behind me while I'm exercising or for a moment or two. But the most I'll allow MS to get me is to be with me side by side. I never want it out in front of me. And I don't always have the choice in that because sometimes it does. That's what I meant earlier when I said that I move when I can, I rest when I need to. I think that's good advice for anybody with any circumstance. But for me, it's sort of gospel. I need to live like that for that reason. That's how, the fight looks for me. So every day also, I try to do a different physical routine. I alternate between a cardio day and a strength training day. Today is a strength training day, so after I leave here, I'm going to, do that later on today. And again, this is simply only to maintain because I witnessed my mom physically get decimated. I never want that to happen to me. Today, I'm thankful to say and acknowledge that there's many, many people with primary progressive MS who live long, fruitful, happy lives. But it's not easy. You have to work for it. And that's what I'm in the process of doing. I'm thankful that there is a lot of research perpetually being done. There's new medications being created and administered. I am fortunate and blessed enough to be on an effective medication routine right now for me. I have a daily vitamin schedule. I have multivitamins, C vitamins, D vitamins. I'm on an anti-anxiety pill. I'm on an energy pill. I'm on a balance pill. I am eternally grateful for that medication routine that I have. That will not work for everybody with MS. I'm consciously aware of that. And everybody who has MS is as well. So that's frustrating. So the best we could do is find what works for us with it. I'm also on, I believe, the first FDA-approved medication for MS. This is not a medicine that will eliminate MS. It will just help you deal with it. It will limit the progression of you. It's called Ocrevus. There's commercials for it on TV. It's a blood infusion. You do it twice a year. I've been doing that since I've been diagnosed in 2022. And I think it is having an effect. I get annual MRIs, and they don't believe there are any new lesions that are forming in my brain currently. Anyone that's ever seen images of an MRI will tell you that the brain is a very complex place. So while that might be my opinion, there's no hard proof. But yeah, so even though I might feel differently every day, there doesn't appear to be any progression. And I'm eternally grateful for that. So that's a lot of my story. So we'll touch on that from time to time as we go forward. So like I said in the beginning here, this is an MS-centric show because MS is the shit I'm dealing with, you know, and I feel it's part of my purpose here to give some promotion and awareness to what MS is. We've created and participated in some fundraising around MS, and we'll talk more about that throughout the coming weeks and shows. We're going to be doing a MS walk event here locally. We'll talk about that to promote that a little bit. And all the funds that are created for any kind of MS awareness fund goes into MS research to develop these medications and to do studies on this. I've participated in a number of different studies through Penn Medicine, and they've been very helpful. So again, I'm grateful for that. So to summarize, every episode will have an occasional guest, an expert insight or opinion, a final thought or a quote or a proverb or a Bible verse or a song lyric, whatever. Today's quote will be, "Embracing the chaos one day at a time." We'll try to keep this positive, energetic, and helpful. MS is a fight I've been asked to have, and I'm honored to do so. So until next time, onward.